Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about these Steam groups, and I'm gonna talk about the fact that people are gonna probably disagree with me on what I'm about to say, because this is the thing that people do. Reason why, reason why these people do this. Reason why they celebrate groups of school shootings, especially the Columbine incident that happened. I'm gonna tell you why people did it. Why these people do it is because I can relate to it. I can understand why people do it because let's face it, let's face the ultimate truth about high school growing up. It sucked. It really did suck because I grew up in high school having mental disorders up and taking medication and everything. My high school experience sucked. I was forced to take the medication because it was a requirement by the state, and they were forcing kids to take those medications because let's face the truth, it was a horrible time growing up, dealing with issues, dealing with and all this other shit about hormones and all this other bullshit that a medical expert claims that this happens to be the issue, talking about all this other shit. And I can relate to the fact that, yeah, high school really did suck. And the reason why these people praise and celebrate school shooters, I can tell you why. Because they had to deal with teachers, they had to deal with other people, they had to deal with, talking to all these people. And I'm not trying to, be mean or anything, because I made some good friends in high school, but I dealt with a lot of shit. I dealt with a lot of problems. I dealt with issues with myself, and I dealt with other people having to argue with them at times. And I didn't really, I had to learn to let it go at times. And sometimes, when they kept pressing on it, pressing the issue, it just pisses you off. Same with the teachers. They kept getting upset with me, getting annoyed by me. And sometimes, I wish that I could just do what the guys in Columbine did. But I didn't. And be lucky I didn't do it because I'm not them. And that's what they were treating me like. They think just because I had the same signs as them, they gotta treat me like the Columbine killers. That's how I felt in high school when that whole situation happened. They were gonna treat me the same way as anyone else, especially with the no tolerance policy that was enacted. That happened. It ruined people's lives, especially a little 8-year-old kid, because he brought a little plastic toy to school. They were treating him like he was Satan. Over a plastic fucking toy that was that small, and they suspect that it would shoot something out of its ass. That's how scared these people were of school shootings because of this. And look how they were treating people back then. That's how pissed off I was. And it made me upset. Sure, these Steam groups who make these groups to celebrate school shootings could probably relate to the fact that, yeah, high school really did fucking suck. And they make fun of it because, yeah, it hurt. It was it was sad. But it was a sad experience for all of us growing up. Because the way people, treated you, the way, because they were afraid of people with mental disorders would possibly start a school shooting. Those were the things that happened because they were treating us like we were monsters, like we would possibly plot to kill them. That's how sad it was, because this was at the time people were afraid because of Columbine and how people were treating high school kids and kids differently. It was horrible. This was the type of stuff I had to put up with. This is the type of stuff that they did to kids with mental disorders, treating them like they were the enemy, because of the fact that the Columbine killers had the same issues as everyone else. They were mentally crazy kids who had issues and problems. They couldn't get along with anybody in high school except for their own friends. That was the type of stuff that happened in high school for them. For me, it was very much like I didn't care anymore. I was too drugged up on meds to remember everything. And I started to realize, what's the point? I can't really do much of anything but move on with my life. And this is the type of stuff that I had to deal with in high school. Same with those guys who make those groups, because they're praising those guys because, well, everyone wished they could do the same thing as they did, because their high school experience sucked too. And no one feels sorry for them because they did this. And no one understands why they do this. Like I said before, their life had no meaning because they had a bad experience in high school growing up, and they couldn't deal with it. Just like everybody else who praise these and celebrate these groups on Steam and everything. You gotta understand, high school really sucked, and yet people just don't understand. And that's the perspective of a guy who lived his experience with the Columbine shootings. No. And I was in Texas at the time when this happened. Because that's how they treated kids differently. That's how they treated everyone, because they were living in fear that possibly children would possibly kill somebody, or a random person would kill somebody. And now the Florida shootings happened, and it was an adult, a man who grew up hating the school with all his hatred and bitterness because his life sucked in that school, because he couldn't deal with it and move on. He had to shoot. He had to kill people for it. Because let's face it, and I'm just being honest with everyone, high school really did suck. For those that grew up in the system. So, for those that graduated, went through hell and everything, congratulations. You didn't do what you did. And anyways, I gotta go. That's all I gotta say. Goodbye.